Right, so we finished the logo here, and now we're ready to make a header banner for our menu for our website. But before we do so, what I'm going to do is just unlock these, get rid of this last one, right, which is the background image. Don't need it, so I'll just remove that down here. You can see a bin. You can even drag it to the bin like that. And we're going to just crop this down a wee bit. So over here under the bitmap tools, I've got a marquee, rectangular marquee. I'm just going to cut off a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom here. Like so. Edit, crop document. So you can see what I've done. And I could just crop a little bit off the sides. So it makes the selection around this. So I don't need exactly that, 800 by 600 for this image. So to do the canvas size, you can see it is quite a bit less now, which is great because it will make the image smaller. Now, the other thing that you can see I've done is I've done these white and grey squares, and I did that by just changing the canvas here. So it was on white. With the pointer tool, you just have to click on the canvas. So you can see the properties are of this circle. Click on the canvas, or click on this grey area even, and we'll get the properties here for this. So I just change it to that one, white and grey, and that will be a transparent background because all images, of course, are rectangular in shape, so made up of pixels going across and going down. But I've got a logo in this example, which is a circular, so we don't want these sides, so we'll make them transparent. Okay, next thing what we want to do is make a selection and group all of this together so it's ready to be copied and put into our header. So to do that, pointer tool and select everything like this. And you can see then on the right hand side, all my paths are selected. Then just right click on the image and group. And as you can see on the layers panel, it says group and it's given it a number. 6 objects, group of 6 objects together. So now if I try to move this, you can see it's one piece, okay, which is handy to be able to do that. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for the moment, and I'm now going to just get to do the header. So File and New, and this will be, well, we're going to look at resolution. So if I do About this computer, you can see under Display, I've actually got 2 displays connected to the computer. Now, the minimum display is usually 1024 by 768. So you can see I'm using a MacBook laptop, and it's got a little bit more in terms of the resolution there. But I've also got a Dell display connected to my MacBook, and you can see it's even more than the built-in display on the laptop. So what we will do is we'll create a website that'll fit on any resolution. Okay, now it's not going to be for mobile phones, but it will probably work fine for tablets. Okay, so we'll just do the minimum. So the minimum would be 1024 by 768, but we don't need 768 in height. So what I'm going to do is just put 150 because we're just doing the banner along the top. Resolution here, 72 is the same, white background, and I say OK. Now you can see there's the banner, or header, and what we're going to do is, you've got these 2 images as you can see. Up here I can flick between the 2. And the first thing I'm going to do is just create this. Now, if I don't have my logo ready, well, I'm going to save this first, of course. Save as, and I need to make sure that I put it in my folder where I've got my website folder. Okay, so if I go to desktop, website, and I'm just going to put it in raw for the moment because this is the raw logo. And then I'm going to just change the name to logo, right, and press save. Okay, so that's my Fireworks logo. You can see that it says name here. And then this one, which is my template, well, I'll just save this now anyway, even though it's not got anything on it. I'm going to put it in raw as well. So I'll just take this and call it header. and save. And what we need to do now is create this. Now, I would suggest that we put on rulers. So that was view and rulers, put them on. And these go by pixels, as you can see. So on the left, top left corner, it's 0, 0, right? So vertically 0, horizontally 0. And it goes up to, well, you can imagine it's 1024 on this side and 150 on this side. So what we're going to do is take a ruler and we'll grab this ruler on the left. And if you pull it out, you can see I get a guideline. Now I'm going to bring this and I can look at the top up here at roughly how much I want. So there, if that's, I want to get sort of 150. Now if I let go of it, it sort of puts that guideline there, right? So if I do this actually on the paper, not up here, I can see it's done that line. Now I can obviously adjust it. So if I zoom in a little bit, I can see actually there's exactly 150, so I can drag it to that point. So it's 150. So this is where my logo is going to go, right? Which is this logo over here. Right, so zoom out a little bit. And what I want to do now is create this banner. Now, the banner, you can do it all sorts of different ways. So if I zoom out, you can imagine I can just do this, something like that, and then give it a color or a gradient, whatever, yeah? And then I can put the logo here, and I can put some buttons and so on here. That's fine, right? That will work. Now, you might want to do that, but you may have decided to design something a bit more elaborate. So I'm going to do, in this case, we've got some waves. So you can see I'm going to just use this pen tool. Pen tool's a great tool to use. Don't worry if you make too many mistakes, because you can always fix one bit or the other. And a couple of waves here. And then what I'm going to do is just go then down to a straight line at the end. Okay, so just to there. And then underneath, just join it up like that. So it's either this way or it's the other way. Now, if I want to change this, go to my pointer tool. I can obviously make it go a bit higher, a bit lower. I can change this. This is size 20. It's probably too much, so 10. I can then use the sub-selection tool, and you can see I can probably make some adjustments to this. So sub-selection, bring that down a bit. This one, maybe bring it in, click on that one, zoom in a little bit possibly. Okay, a bit better. And then I've got to think about the colors, of course. So this is a wave, so it's blue, I suppose. And maybe I do a gradient. So the one's gone black, and did a lighter blue. And then I can even choose whether this is sort of like this or a wavier sort of color like that. Right? So satin, starburst, ellipse, bars, ripples, waves even. So that actually probably looks a little bit better like this now. Okay, so what's the next thing I want to do? Well, I want to create some buttons in this. So I'm going to just move this up slightly, because what I probably want to do is make these buttons sit in this kind of wave formation that I'm doing here. Right, just making some fine adjustments. So it looks a bit more like a wave, some bits. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to do this, to get it right exactly the way you want it. Maybe just to adjust that a little bit. Okay. Alright, so we can play around with that, I'm sure, loads. Now, I'm going to get the text tool and I'm just going to write home. The first button will be the home button. And with this one, obviously I don't want that size text, so I'm going to do, let's say 50. And I'll put that down here. I'm going to leave Verdana for the font. And I'm going to put white, the text, and then I'm going to do a filter. So the filter, I'm going to do a glow effect, and I'm going to make it black. Not 100% sure on that. Now, if you want to start playing around with text, there is, of course, the styles, which these are preset ones which you can pick from. So if you do, of course, text ones, I've got like that I can use, which maybe it's good. Maybe I want to just use that. But I could try to do some colors that are similar to my logo. I'm just going to go for this one and then change the size, maybe put it back up to 50 again and set that, just move it up to here. It's not a problem that that's in the sort of middle like that, that's fine. Okay, so once you've made one, Control C, Control V, so you click on it, Control C, Control V, and you make a few copies. Right, so I'm going to have 3. This is going to be my about page, maybe, or it could be news. And then this one, I'm using the text tool to change this, and this would be maybe links or photos or something. You've got to decide on what you're going to do for each one of these. Okay, so once I've finished that, I'm going to just quickly save because you don't want to lose any of your work. And then I need to make these into actual buttons. I need to make these into actual buttons. So what I will do here is click on this first one and then right click on it, and you can see I've got this option to convert to symbol. So when I click on that, I've got button down here, call it home, right? So just give it a name, that's fine. And then I want to press OK. Now when I've done that, you can see it's turned it into, it's made it green. So this is basically a sort of web layer that is put onto it. So I can actually, over my layers, turn that on or off. You can see that's happening, okay? It's also put these little red lines and so on across here, and this is where these are going to be sliced up. So we'll come back to this one in a minute. Click on the next one, right click, convert to symbol, button, and just call it news. Okay, next one, click on it, right click, convert to symbol, and button again, and this time links. Okay, so I've got my 3 buttons, but I want them to actually, well, I can do a preview. If I do preview, this is sort of what it's going to look like, right? Now, at the minute, you can see they disappear, right, when I roll over them. So I don't want that necessarily to happen. So go back to original at the top, then I can double click on the button. So what happened there, you can see that this whole area goes grayed out. Everything else, even these buttons, go grayed out, and you can just see this one. And at the top, you can see that I'm in the button. Okay, it's like I'm inside of this button to change the settings of it. If I click back on page 1, I've gone back to here. Okay, so this is important that you understand this, right? So if I double click on news, I've gone into the news button, and I've got my properties at the bottom for this news button, right? So page 1, I'll go to home, and notice that I've got this thing now called state, and I've got up, over, down, over while down, and then active area. So you can do all of these different states for your buttons, but I'm just going to do up and over because it's quick and you don't really need to do a down. This is if you're like clicking down, and then if you're over while down and different things, you can just do up and over, it will be fine. So on the over state, you can see that the button has disappeared now, and that's what happened whenever you rolled over this button. When you brought the cursor up to the button, it disappeared. So on the over state, we can pick the copy up graphic down here at the bottom. And you can see it's just now made a copy of it right there. So if I go back to my up state, my button looks like this. Go to my overstate, the button looks like this. So it's exactly the same. So you've got a couple of options, and what you want to do is try and make it fairly simple. So I will click on this button on the overstate, this is, right? So if I click off this, you can see I'm on the over. Click on the button. Now I've got the properties of this text, essentially, that we set up and made before. You can see I can change the font, the size, and so on, right? Now you could do something like a filter. So I could say that glow effect, and I could make it, let's say, white, or I could make it black, and you would notice that too, right? So if I click off that, if I click out and go back to page 1, and then preview, it's going to give it a second to do it. Right, so watch, it's changed, right? And that's quite nice, actually, that little effect that I've done, so I might just keep that. But I'll show you another thing that you might want to do. So I'll click back on original. Let's say I'll leave this button as it is. Now, usually you would want to keep consistency and do all the buttons the same. But I'll show you a different way what we can do. So we've got the upstate. Go to my overstate. Copy up graphic. So I've got a copy of it. Click on it. I could do something like change the size. So if I change it to 60, that is on the overstate. So I've just clicked off this. So there's the properties. Change it to 60. Click off it. On the canvas somewhere, just click there with the pointer tool, and I'm on the overstate. And then, so I've got up, which is this, over, which is that. So if I go back to page 1, preview, takes a little second for mine to load for some reason. You can see that one works like that. This one gets bigger, okay? Now, that's probably not that good to have both of them being different. So I could either have both of them get bigger and change with the shadow, or not, right? So I'm just going to go back into this one, go into the overstate, put that back to 50, right? So I'm just going to have the shadow effect on this one, okay? But as I say, those are a couple of things that I would suggest doing. You could do other stuff as well, but you want to keep it nice and simple, I would have thought. Okay, so there, I've put it on that shadow effect for the over. Oh, that seems to have changed back. 50, enter. And now if I go back to up, that's without, and then over. Right, back to page 1. Last link. Click on this one. No, sorry. Click off it. Down to the state and over. Copy up graphic. Then I'm going to click on it. Filter down the bottom and add a shadow. So, or glow, sorry it was. Right, so black, click off it, back to page 1, just preview it to see if it's all good. And there we go, home, use links, perfect, right, original. Right, now we need to get our logo in here. So I'm going to first of all save this so I make sure I don't lose anything, because that would be the worst if I lose all of this work. And then I'm going to go to my logo. Now my logo's already prepared to copy over because I've made it a group like this. Now what I do is just click on it to select it. Okay, so just got it clicked and you can see it's gone kind of blue color in the layers panel. And I can just do Control and C to copy, or you could right click, edit, copy. You can do that as well. But I usually just click on it and use the keyboard shortcut. So Control C to copy. Then I go over to my header over here. Right, so you can see logo header. In my header, I'm just going to then paste this in. So Control and V. You can, of course, right click and paste. Same thing, right? Now, my logo's too big. So the same thing that we had previously, that we have to fix this. So with it selected, I've got that group selected. I just pick on either the scale tool up here, or I do Control and T on the keyboard. And then on the bottom left or bottom right, I just scale it down to the size I need it to be. So if I zoom in, That's probably about right. So pick up the pointer tool, that goes away, and then I just need to make some fine adjustments. Now, for moving it and making some fine adjustments, what you can do is just use the pointer tool, or not the pointer tool, sorry, pointer tool selected, of course, and then the arrows on the keyboard, and you can see I just make these little adjustments like that, okay? When I click off that, that's it done. Now this blue guideline that I had, I only put that there, of course, because I wanted to have that space left for my logo and didn't accidentally put this home. So I can actually just remove that and just grab it. Make sure you're grabbing the blue line and not grabbing any of these lines, of course. So grab this and just drag it over to the left, let go, and it's gone. Okay, so that is this finished. So I'm going to just file and save, and we are done. Preview it. Looks pretty good. Take away the web layer just to see what it looks like as well. Right, so that's what it looks like. So I just did that over here on the layers panel. Okay, and you can see it looks like a fairly nice web template for a website. Okay, so I can leave that back on, and what we're going to do now is export it. So I've saved this, and we're going to export it into our folder. Now, in the folder here, I've got website. So my header template and my logo are both in here. So you can now see there's the header, there's the logo. Now what I want to do is I want to export the web page with these images into this area, and then all of these images to be into this folder here. So let's look at how to do that. So what you can see is, of course, these red lines. Now what all these little red lines are going to do is slice or splice. I think they call it splicing. So you've got it over here. You've got this thing called our slice tool, right? And what this is going to do is slice all of this up into different images. So you can imagine, or you can see here, this one square or rectangular, sorry, area is going to be an image. This is going to be another image, and then this is going to be an image, because we want them to be rollover images, right? So these would be 2 images. This is going to make 2 images, one like that and one like this. Okay, so go back to original, and all I really need to do is actually just go to File and Export. So Fireworks is brilliant for this because it will do all of the hard work for us. So File, Export, and it's automatically going to come up with exporting these in as HTML. So you can see this here. We've got export HTML and images. I can pick options if I want. And at the minute, this is in the raw folder, so I don't want it to be in the raw folder, so I'm just going to pick website. Okay, so it's going into the website folder, my web page, right? And I've got a name for it up at the top, so header.html. Well, actually, what we will just call this is a template, okay, .html. All right, so hypertext markup language, and we want to export the HTML and images. The HTML, we want to export a HTML file. The slices, export all these slices. And which page? Well, the current page. And then at the bottom here, it says include areas without slices. Yep, that would be any of the areas that aren't sort of image rollovers or buttons. And then it says put images in subfolder. So we do want to do that because we don't want to have a messy folder where we have the HTML and the images all in the same place. We want our images in this image folder and our HTML pages just here. Okay, so put images in subfolder. So this pops up and it will automatically say to put it in an images folder. Now, if you don't have an images folder, it will create that, but we do. We've got one called IMG. So I'm just going to pick browse on that and pick that folder. So image, go into that and say choose, and down here the important thing that you can see now, it says IMG /, okay, so that means that all the images are going to go into this IMG folder. So when I just then say export, that's it. You don't really see anything happening, but if I go to my folder, well, first of all, I can see the new image that I called template, or sorry, new HTML page, or HTML. And if I go into my images folder, I've got all of these separate images. And look, you can see it. It's cut it all up. So you could think about this image here. It's cut off the top, but the rest of it is probably over here. All these different pieces. So there's something up at the top of there. You've got all these different pieces of this image. Okay, so you can see I've got home. That's the rollover one, and I've got this one. Okay, now if this didn't work for you, the problem is that you probably had something selected. So if you had this selected or this selected and then you did file export, it would have maybe not done it properly. Okay, so you have to make sure you just deselected everything, so click on the gray area. Okay, so if I go to this now and I want to open my HTML page, so I can open this with, let's say I open it with Google Chrome, and just have a look at what it looks like. There you go. Right, so you can see the image is actually complete here, but it looked as if in the images folder that it's cut off, but the rest of it is, I don't know, somewhere here anyway, out of these images, but it's all there in this one. Okay, so that you can see it says template.html. It's in my website folder, and if I roll over these, they're links, they're like buttons that I can click on, right? But at the minute they don't, of course, go anywhere at all, right? And the other thing you can notice is that because my resolution is bigger, this is 1024 pixels, so you can see I've got more than 1024. I've got like 800, sorry, 1280. So I've got a fair bit more on this side. So what I've done is I've done this bit straight, this bit here, so I could actually take a little slice of this image at the end and repeat it going over this way if I want to, or I could just leave it and have a blank side. It doesn't really matter because you can still see the website. It's fine, the way it is. Okay, so that's the end of this demonstration.